Even having Jin of BTS and Hanni of Newjeans, two of the biggest K-pop idols in the world right now as brand ambassadors, couldn't save Gucci from absolutely tanking. Gucci, which is one of the most iconic brands in the world in my opinion, has really just been going through it these past couple years, which sounds like a lot of these K-pop groups, right? So their sales have absolutely tanked in these past couple years, and they just recently fired the creative director, which I kind of feel bad about because I really did like his designs for the brand or for Gucci, and I don't think that the blame can entirely be placed on him for the flop air of Gucci right now. And I think it's important to tell you guys this and talk about it because Gucci, to put it in K-pop terms, is kind of like one of the big three, right? And there's actually a lot of parallels between the way that Gucci is flopping and the way that K-pop groups actually flop. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of try to explain the situation and the downfall of Gucci right now in a way that would make sense to you as a K-pop fan using K-pop related examples. I'll also explain how the current situation could potentially affect Gucci's brand ambassadors, so Hanni from Newjeans and Jin from BTS, and Jay Park if you consider him K-pop, and also how it could potentially affect K-pop as a whole. Welcome to Fashion Explained in K-pop Terms, Episode 1, How Gucci Fell into Their Flop Era. Before I get into it, make sure to subscribe to Fashion Alt if you want to keep learning all about the worlds of K-pop and fashion. Let me start by setting the Inkigayo stage using K-pop examples so you guys can better follow along with the story and understand what happened. You guys gotta pay attention to this part, okay? It's important. So Gucci is one of the most iconic and recognizable fashion brands in the world. Like if I were to ask you or any other K-pop fans to name some luxury fashion brands, you would probably name like Gucci or like Louis Vuitton, right? So Gucci is actually owned by a bigger company or conglomerate named Kering. So in this scenario, I would say that Kering is kind of like a K-pop agency. They would definitely be one of the big three agencies. So let's say in this scenario, Kering is JYP. So Kering, a fashion conglomerate, owns a bunch of fashion brands, right? The same way a K-pop agency like JYP would have a bunch of different K-pop groups. So Kering owns Gucci. So in this case, Gucci would kind of be like, for example, the ITZY of JYP. And this is just an example, by the way, like no shade to ITZY. So Gucci is ITZY, and so then every K-pop group, the same way as every fashion brand, they have kind of like an executive producer, right? That kind of oversees the vision of the group. They make all the music, they execute the vision of the group, the same way that every fashion brand has a creative director that kind of like designs collections or whatever. Gucci for a long time had a creative director named Alessandro Michele, and let's say for ITZY, for example, I don't know, Teddy was their executive producer for a long time, right? So the stage is now set. Kering is JYP, Gucci is ITZY, and Alessandro Michele is Teddy. Okay, like, did you guys follow along with that? So let's get into it now. Now that we know who's who, we can really get into it. And if you're kind of unsure or like you didn't really follow along, please watch it again because you're not gonna understand where I'm going with this if you don't fully understand who's who in the scenario. So yeah, so JYP has ITZY, produced by Teddy. It's going so well since the debut. Everybody loves ITZY. Teddy just keeps making these smash hits for ITZY. Started with Dala Dala, everyone loved it. It's selling so well. Came back with Wannabe, Icy. Everyone's loving ITZY, you guys. Everyone's loving ITZY. They cannot get enough of ITZY. It's selling so well, making JYP so much money. And let's say it's going and going and going. And one day, Teddy makes Loco for ITZY, right? They make Loco, and for some reason, Loco it's just not as well received. It didn't sell as well. It still sold well, but not as well as before. And people are kind of like, you know what? Teddy's kind of making the same sound for ITZY. He keeps doing the same thing for them. And even though it's working, we're kind of getting tired of it. And JYP sees that the sales of Loco kind of dropped. So you know what? They're like, you know what? No, we're not taking this. Teddy, you're gone. And this is exactly what happened to Gucci, you guys. So Gucci for a long time, designed by Alessandro Michele, it was going so well. He took the Gucci sales to like $10 billion. It was selling, selling, selling. Everyone couldn't get enough of Gucci. Everyone was wearing Gucci. Everyone's loving Gucci. And one day, Kering just felt like, you know what? Alessandro's latest collection really didn't sell as well. And people are kind of saying it's repetitive. Alessandro's gone. We're getting rid of Alessandro. Teddy, Alessandro, they're both gone now. And that was kind of their first mistake. So they got rid of Alessandro, they got rid of Teddy, and now they found a new designer. Now that ITZY got rid of Teddy, Teddy just wasn't cutting it anymore for ITZY. They found a new executive producer. So for example, let's say they found P-Dog. So P-Dog is ITZY's new executive producer. His first song for ITZY was Sneakers, for example. He made Sneakers for ITZY, and you know what? The K-pop industry, they hated it. They were hating it, they hating it so much. Everyone was dragging Sneakers up and down. such a huge flop for ITZY. The song was just a complete total flop. But JYP was like, you know what? That was P-Dog's first song for ITZY. Sneakers flop, but you know what? Let's give him a chance and see what he does, because we can't just count him out, right? Like, it was just P-Dog's first song for ITZY. You know what? Maybe let's see what the next one's saying. And that's the same thing that the K-pop agency said. They were like, you know what? This song is a complete disaster. It was a total flop, but let's give P-Dog a chance. We can't just count him out after one song, right? You know what? Let's give him another chance. So after that, P-Dog makes another song, and it kind of gives sneakers again. You know what? He's doing sneakers again. And they're like, you know what? Okay, like, you know what? It's a little bit better. Let's say this is like Cheshire, for example. It's a little bit better, but still not, you know what? We're not loving it. It's the same direction as sneakers. Cheshire now, it's like we're not loving it. And you know what? We're kind of having doubts about P-Dog now. Like, was P-Dog the right choice for us? But you know what? Let's take a bet on P-Dog. Let's really 10 toes down for P-Dog. We're keeping him around or whatever. And let's see what the third song is saying. So P-Dog has his third song for Gold and has his third song named Gold for ITZY. And this, you know what? People are like, you know what? Maybe P-Dog is just too stubborn. Like, he wants to keep the same sound, Sneakers, Cheshire, Gold, and it's just not working at all. But he's just so stubborn. He keeps doing the exact same thing. We don't know what to do, because at this point, ITZY sales are just completely tanked. Underground now, complete flop. Everyone thinks they're a flop. Their sales completely tanked, and now it's just, that's what the case is. They gave him 3 chances. He keeps doing the same thing. He doesn't want to change, and that's that. Even though some people are like okay with it, for the most part, the industry is not loving it, fans aren't loving it, and that's it. So taking it back to Gucci now, that was kind of the same scenario. After they got rid of Alessandro Michele, aka Teddy, they brought in a new designer named Sabato De Sarno, which is the P-Dog in this scenario. So Gucci, for the longest time, they were doing so well with Alessandro, but they felt like, you know what, it's not working anymore. Let's get Sabato on board, and that's that. So Sabato De Sarno, he unveils his first collection for Gucci. It was not well received at all. People were not loving it. Fashion industry was not loving it. Customers were not loving it. And you know what? They were like, you know what, Kering was like, let's give Sabato a chance. You know, like, we haven't really given him a fair chance. He only had one collection so far. Fashion industry felt the same way. Second collection, Sabato kind of does the same thing, and people are kind of side-arming now. Third collection kind of builds on from the first 2 collections, and people are just like, now, Sabato, it's not working. You're just too stubborn. It's not working at all. Gucci sales are now tanked. This is not it, you know? Fired Sabato, fired P-Dog. They're both gone now. And that's where the current JYP / Kering, Gucci / ITZY is at the current day. They're kind of in a low slump. Everyone feels like they're kind of like a flop brand or a flop group or whatever the case may be. And this is on top of the case that the overall economy and the fashion industry / K-pop industry is actually just not doing well in general. Like, the K-pop industry, people are not buying as much albums as they were before. People are kind of more conscious of where they're spending their money. Yes, we had a drop in sales, but was it totally attributed to P-Dog? Was it entirely P-Dog's fault? Maybe not. Maybe it's part of that was because the K-pop industry is just not doing as well. Same thing with Gucci. Sabato De Sarno, yes, collections were maybe not loved or well received as much, but you know, can we really blame it on him when the whole economy is just not doing well as before, and the fashion industry as a whole is just not doing well, you know? So it's just the economy, the K-pop industry is just not doing well, coupled with the designs that were not as well received, and that's kind of where the current day Gucci is, or the current day ITZY is at the moment. It's still a very beloved brand, a beloved group, but can it be saved? That's kind of where the question lies right now, right? Like, it's kind of in a slump right now. It's kind of in the flop era. So where does it go from here? So basically what happens now is that Gucci needs to find a new creative director, or like ITZY needs to find a new executive producer to kind of salvage the situation, right? That's kind of where we're at present day. Now Gucci's kind of in a weird position where they don't have a creative director. No one knows what's gonna happen to Gucci, while the fact that they have still on board their K-pop idol ambassadors, so Hanni from Newjeans and Jin from BTS, right? So kind of the thing with this whole thing is that, like, I feel like now it's kind of hard because we don't know how big of a production the next show is going to be. We don't know if Hanni's going to go to the show, if Jin's going to go to the show. It's kind of unsure. And I feel like actually during the transitional phase of a brand where there's no designer, it's kind of the hardest for a K-pop idol ambassador, because there's really not much for them to do, because in terms of having a brand ambassador, a lot of it has to do with this idea that the brand ambassador is going to communicate the vision of the creative director, right? But now, because there's no vision of a creative director, they're kind of just floating around waiting for the next one to come by, right? So starting with Hanni, I feel like Hanni is kind of in a weird spot anyways, because she is kind of going through her agency drama and like the rebranding of Newjeans into NJZ, and then, yeah, so I don't think Hanni's like really worried right now. Like I feel like Gucci's probably the last thing she's worried about. She's more worried about what's going on with her current group right now. And then moving on to Jin, I feel like Jin, I don't know, Jin, the thing with Jin, I feel like from the beginning of the whole Gucci thing, him becoming a brand ambassador, I don't really feel like they utilized Jin well anyways at all. Like I feel like they had him attend a show, which kind of felt like whatever. I never really felt like Jin really bought into like I feel like Gucci never really had Jin's whole buy-in for Gucci. You know, I feel like he never really like loved the collections, or he was never really wearing Gucci for his promotions. If anything, like they were kind of just wearing whatever, and they were just wearing Gucci here and there just to keep things cute. You know what I mean? Like they were like, okay, you know what, like we're the Gucci ambassador. I'm just gonna wear a couple things here and there, but I never really felt like his heart was in Gucci, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, let me know what you guys think about that. But yeah, so for Jin, I feel like he has a lot of options where he could go anyways. It doesn't necessarily need to be Gucci, but I also feel like he could stick it out with Gucci and just stay there to see who the new creative director is and see if the new creative director is a vibe. And if they are a vibe, Jin can stay. If not, he can leave. You know, it doesn't really matter to Jin. I'm sure it's just on a year-to-year contract anyways. But yeah, like from the beginning, you know what, like I feel like, can I say that Hanni or Jin could have saved Gucci anyways? Honestly, no, I really don't think that they could have really done anything to salvage the situation. The whole problem with Gucci is so multifaceted. It has to do with like the whole corporate level and like the designer, that I feel like no matter what Hanni or Jin wore or sold or whatever the case may be, or sold out, it was never gonna save Gucci. You know what I mean? There was only so much they could do, despite the fact that they are the top 2 K-pop idols in the world. So that's that. I don't know. Do I think that Gucci's gonna appoint any new brand ambassadors at the current moment? Maybe. They could do that. We have been seeing that recently with other brands, like Bottega Veneta, like they appointed Ayan during their transitionary period, and then Celine did the same thing. They appointed Suzy, and then they appointed to us as their brand ambassadors while they had no designer, or during the transitionary period or whatever, right? They could do that, but I don't see them doing that, because I also feel like right now Gucci's kind of because the revenue has dropped significantly, they're kind of more conscious about the way they spend their money, right? And to put it into context for you guys, so you guys can kind of see how bad the situation is. So Gucci under Alessandro Michele, just a couple years ago, maybe in 2021, 2020, 2022, they were doing 10 billion euros in yearly revenue, right? Like that's crazy. They were the biggest brand at Kering. And this past 2024, they just ended the year, they dropped to around 7 billion euros, which is that's like a huge drop, you guys. To go from 10 billion to 7 billion euros, that's kind of the flop era they're in now, and they don't have a designer. So they're kind of just in like a very bad position right now, right? So that's kind of Gucci right now. I don't know, you guys. How do you guys feel about that? I know this video was a lot, like the examples are kind of like really like in there, but let me know what you guys feel about the whole situation. Do you guys feel like Gucci could save themselves? Do you guys feel like, what do you guys feel like Hanni should do? What do you guys feel like Jin should do? Should they stay with the brand? Should they leave? I don't know, but let me know if you guys like this video. Do you guys learn something new? Do you guys like this format? Let me know if you want another one of these ones, but yeah, I enjoyed doing this. Yeah, that was kind of like a fun video for me. And yeah, like if you liked the video, make sure to like the video, and make sure you guys to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, where you guys can learn all about the worlds of K-pop and fashion, because I am the only one doing videos like this where you guys can actually learn something, you guys, okay? So make sure to subscribe to your friend Kevin, and I'll see you guys in the next video.